Hello, listeners. It's Natalie at the Known and Never podcast, and we are back with the first preview show of the season. I am joined this week by Statman Dave and When the Town podcast to look ahead to our opening fixture of the season, which is away at Luton. We've got some new features, we've got some new exciting stats to bring you, and we've got some nice little fun and games. It's the same old preview show with a little bit different. So, buckle up. Let's get going. Excellent. Welcome to the show. We have got Statman Dave Roberts, our regular Known and Never statistician, who is going to be giving us all of the stats and facts ahead of our trip to Luton. And we are joined by our very special guest, Dave, from the Luton podcast, When the Town. Dave, this is going to be confusing, listeners, because we've got two Daves. Two Daves. What am I going to do? So Luton Dave, we're going to ignore Statman Dave for now. We'll leave him in the background. He's old news. Nobody's listening to Dave anymore. Welcome to the show. It's really lovely to have you here. Now, our listeners will not know this yet, but you and I have worked together all of last season on the 12th Man podcast in the Premier League, and we've already done the reverse fixture where we've been on your podcast. So I'm going to introduce you and give you a chance to let our fans know who you are, about your podcast, and tell us some fun facts about yourself.
Oh, fun facts about me. Well, thanks for having me on. It's always a delight to do these sort of things. Fun facts about me. I haven't got any. I'm old. I'm old. I've been watching Luton since around about, 1970. I remember the first Burnley game I went to see, Luton in 1970. I can't remember the score, but I just remember it was a bit of an epic game. And overall, I've just dedicated my life to my family and my football, and football and family go together, and that's what you go in there for, isn't it? I love the game, and this sort of the When the Town podcast started about 5 seasons ago, and it's just rolled on and got better. My son used to run it, then he managed to get a job at Luton Town, and so I didn't want to lose it, so I took over it, and we have great fun doing it, and chatting with supporters like yourselves is always a bonus, and that's all I can tell you about me. I couldn't tell you any other fun facts. 6'1", if that helps.
That's great. 6'1". We like this.
Nice personal fact.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I like the cow artwork behind you for our listeners who are listening to this on a podcast. It's some cows behind him.
The cows are an artist. I think her name's Elizabeth Shotton. Ooh. I might have made that up, but it's a limited edition print. And that print behind us, if I just tip the camera up a bit more, you'll see it's Marilyn Monroe. That's his.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a nice piece of art. I would have put Luton Town stuff up, but I like the colours. They're the right colours.
It is. Well, if we're going to continue the start of the new season of the previous show with artwork, I have a Picasso print behind me. Picasso is my favourite artist, and this particular print here, who, again, podcast listeners, I'm sorry, this is really boring content, but you need to go over to YouTube and just check this out, because then you'll see the visuals. This particular print sits behind the bar at the Bellagio the Picasso restaurant in the Bellagio in Las Vegas, where I've been. They've got about 7 or 8 pieces of original art in there, and it's a fine dining restaurant, and it's amazing. And this is my favourite piece because it sits behind the bar, and I managed to get a reprint, and it's sitting there. So there you go. Dave Statman Roberts, in the meantime, has got the best view in football, which we always take the mickey out of him because we believe that's him. He claims it's Turf Moor. I reckon he's trying to claim that he is, in fact, the best view in football. Okay, now we've met our opposition this week, and obviously, Dave, you're coming back for season 12 of the Known and Never podcast, and your 4th season as our stat guy. Is this your 5th season?
A lot more than that.
Is it? Oh, goodness me.
Started in 2018-19 for the Europa League.
Wow, goodness me, we've been together a long time. It just feels like we're an old married couple, Dave. It really does. Well, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you. I always find it a privilege to have you as part of the Known and Never preview show. I do not take your hard work for granted, so I'm very delighted you've signed on with us again for a 12th season. But I'm going to park you for now because I want to talk to our guest this evening, because part of the rebrand, listeners, for the preview show this season is to bring you more news and content from our opposition and bring you some wider content from the EFL, generally speaking. So we love Burnley, but, we've been in the Championship. We've played Luton last season. We want to hear something different. So I'm going to start with you, Luton Dave. Last season was a fantastic season for you, but also ended disappointingly. You managed to get through those playoffs and into the Premier League and had your first ever season in the Premier League. Now, you and I have talked about this on various other contents, but our listeners haven't yet heard this. Just talk us through what promotion last season, the whole Premier League experience meant to you as a Luton fan.
Wow. Where do I start? Back in 2009, when we got relegated to the conference, every Luton fan thought we'd be there for like one season and then be bouncing back. But what a mistake we made. 5 years hard graft trying to get out of that division. And then you could tell by the new owners that we were onto something, that they were invested, they're fans of the club. And so that journey up to the Championship was immense. And I was just happy to be there. Then we had the season where we lost in the playoff semi-finals. And we thought, well, it was a good shout. But actually to get to the playoff final last season, or the season before last, obviously, was a dream come true. And what it has done, actually winning the final was, I suppose, if you're going to go up, and you're going to go up unexpectedly, because I suspect no one thought Luton Town would get there. It's a great way to go up. It's not a great way to lose, but it's a great way to go up.
Yeah, definitely.
Was amazing. And then it's just dawned on us that little Luton Town, unfancied, with a capacity of 10,000 or so at the time, a ground not fit for purpose for the Premier League because we had to rebuild it. We were going to go there. And I had an absolute blast in the Premier League. But what we've got to do first and really say is that the money has secured my club going forward for a long time. We've never been in a position where we haven't had to sell players. We are way into developing the new stadium. That's going to come, and it's in a great place right in the centre of town. It's going to be a good capacity, and then the interest from around the world, the interest from new fans. They can't get into our stadium yet. It wasn't the smallest stadium in the division. Just to remind you, it was the second smallest. Bournemouth had as low as even us. But it's opportunity, and we broke our transfer record 5 times last season. Now you might laugh because it wasn't a lot of money, but we know up until we got there, 1.2 million was the most we'd ever paid for a player, and we broke that transfer record 5 times in a season.
Yeah, I bet.
We've got some good players, and every single. I know we didn't. We finished third bottom. No, everybody thought we finished bottom. Everybody thought we'd be done by Christmas. And we wasn't, and I enjoyed every single moment, every game I went to. I've been to more games last season than I've been to for a while. I was on radio, TV, and it was just brilliant. It was a brilliant atmosphere. But I think the main thing is no one expected us to survive, so we didn't do that. But no one expected us to put up the fight we put up, and
I think we did.
Well, maybe we did. I look at Burnley. And this is going to sound very disrespectful, but it's not. Burnley is a traditional club, an old club that's been around forever. But you don't look at Burnley and go, "It's a big club," and it should be, right? Yeah. But it should be, it could be. But those fans of Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all the main events, the Man Cities of this world, just belittled Luton. They weren't ready for what we offered, and I was glad that we put that straight after we got the season started. We started terribly. I don't think our management were up to speed at that time with how that division operates. But once we found our feet, we started giving everybody a good game. And it's just a shame that we couldn't hold on to, a point against you guys at our place. For instance, we equalised. You go down the other end and score immediately. Liverpool last minute, Arsenal last seconds, all them sort of things. If we'd have been a bit better at home, we might still be there. I don't think any Luton Town. I was at West Ham away the last game that we played, which really confirmed that we're going to get relegated. And I was gutted. I was really, really gutted. But every single Luton fan there was applauding the team, knowing that we'd done something really brilliant that saved our club from oblivion, basically. And No, I don't ever think anybody was that disappointed. It's
No.
a weird thing. I've been relegated. Obviously we've been relegated out of the division. We've been relegated out of the leagues. We got relegated from the old first division, and every time it hurt. But this
Yeah.
one
Felt
didn't.
different.
This one, I'm just thinking, we come back down, we're stronger, we've got more chance of going forward. When you used to get relegated, I don't know how you guys felt, before you had that stint in the Premier League where you got some money behind you. I always felt, my God, we could go down again here. Or, we might lose our best players. We
Yeah.
might have to sell to survive, but we don't have to do that anymore. And I think that's the best thing about what our experience last season was. I think we gained a lot of new supporters and a lot of respect from other supporters towards the end of it. So, yeah, I enjoyed go back. I don't know it's the right thing, but I can't wait to go back. And if we go back and we've got the new stadium, even better.
Yeah, excellent. I think Statman, Burnley, Dave, I think that's something that we found back in 2009 when we first got promoted, wasn't it? That idea that this may be a one-time chance, but it kept our financial, and it really was a stepping stone for us to go forward, wasn't it? And excel as a club. And Luton are probably going to feel that, Dave, don't you think?
It was, and I think you can't always go straight forward in a linear fashion, particularly the way the Premier League is. So teams do have to sometimes go down before they can come back up and get a little bit stronger. And I think that's certainly the case from Luton in where they've come from, and they're probably going to be potentially stronger this season than they were 2 seasons ago when they won by the playoffs. So they'll be looking to get, well, like ourselves, to go straight back up.
Yeah. Luton, Dave, talk to us about Rob Edwards. Where's he sit in terms of how the board see him, how the fans see him? What kind of pressure is he on this season?
He, I don't think he's really under much pressure. The pressure will be created for him. There's a lot of expectation this season because of what we've done last season and how we played. He's just been given a new 4-year contract. So I think we're ring-fencing him because he's a really good manager. He's a really good motivator. Yeah. He attracts the players. And once he was on form last season, we performed quite well. So I think we've done one of two things here. We're backing him with 4 years, and he fits. He does fit the Luton thing at the moment. He speaks very well of the club. People like him. He recruits well. He's got a great backroom team, and he's got the fans and the board behind him. He couldn't do no wrong last season, really, not at all. Yeah. And don't forget where he came from as well. He came from Watford, and he came mid-season from Watford after being sacked from Watford, and he's accepted in. And the first thing he had to do was beat Watford, which he did, and so he's a legend already. I don't think there's any Luton fan that dislikes him. Not one. And everybody, in fact, the club as a whole are really tight, really, really tight. Everyone is together. And we talk about togetherness, but I don't think there's anyone in the club, from the lower staff to the top people, that are not fighting for the same thing. So Rob Edwards has got the backing of the board. He's got the financial backing of the board. He's got the backing of the players. And he's got the fans love him. The fans love him, and he's been so good for the club. The only thing I could see happening is that he gets a really good performance in the beginning of this season, or halfway through the season, or next season, wherever, and there'll be a little managerial change in. I don't like to because I've got to remember where we are, but the likes of a Wolves or a West Ham or a Brighton change their manager and they come hunting for him. At least we've stitched the 4 years on him so that we can get some compensation. But I think for now, I think he really wants to get back with us. So, I love him. He's tactically, he's tactically good. And there's not a bad word I can say about him, which is, when you talk about managers.
Yeah, no, it is. No, you're grand, don't worry. I'm going to let you take a little sip of water while you're thinking about this. But I guess wrapping up on Rob Edwards, what about this season though? Like, I get all of that, but if he has a poor season this season and Luton find themselves, okay, caveat to this, I don't think you will, but if you did find yourselves at the bottom half of the Championship and struggling, does that change at all?
I'd like to think not. I'd like to think not. I'd like to think we like to give the manager a good time, a good length of time to get something up. And, it's never impossible, is it, that we might be in the bottom half, but it's a long season. So I would like to think that they wouldn't. But if we're getting beat 6-0 every week, then there's something going on, isn't there? I don't think we'd be in that position. I don't think the fans will turn. I don't care if we play scrappy football for the rest of the season and we win 1-0 every week. It wouldn't bother me too much. But, he does play good flowing football when he gets the team going. I'd be very disappointed if anyone turned on him. Really would. I just can't see it happening. Nathan Jones, the only time people got upset with him is when he left without telling anyone what he was doing. And when there was, the Stoke thing and then coming back and then Southampton, although Southampton was done better than Stoke. And they respected Nathan Jones when he came back the second time.
Yeah.
So I think once you get used to your manager, if he's going to be here for a while, he's committed for 4 years. He's taken the contract for 4 years. We should back him for a good part of that. If it's tremendously bad, if like I say, if we're losing every week, then he'll either step up or he might even step out himself. But I don't think he's like that. I think he really wants success. He's been successful with us. He wasn't successful at Watford because they didn't give him any time. He was successful at Forest Green, of all places. He got them promoted. And I just think the way that he is, I think we understand and give the manager time. It might not be straight away, but it might be 2 seasons. If he recruits well, keeps some of the... I'm amazed we've kept so many players in this transfer window so far. I have to caveat that with the fingers crossed. He just holds court well. I don't think anyone will be upset with him this season. I think he's got this season to make it right.
Yeah.
And obviously 2 further chances to beat Watford, which will be fantastic.
Yeah, it will. Okay, well, let's start looking ahead to this game then. Dave, you're going to start by feeding us in with a few... Statman Dave, sorry, you're going to start. This is going to get confusing, this episode. You've got a couple of stats for us, just a few random facts about this game. What have you chosen to select for us this week?
Well, we are looking ahead to the game, but I think we're going to revisit a bit of history first. So looking back a few historical stats, we've got a few more modern ones further down the line. In terms of Burnley's away visits to play Luton Town, all apart from one have been at Kenilworth Road. However, our first ever visit to play them in 1898 was to a former ground known as Dunstable Road, which they played at between 1897 and 1905. Also, on our way to the FA Cup final in the 1946-47 season, Burnley played out a goalless draw against Luton. That was at Kenilworth Road in a 5th round tie. So we didn't finish 0-0. Burnley came back to Turf Moor, won the replay 3-0. 3 days later, and that was thanks to a hat-trick from Ray Harrison. As we said, we made our way to Wembley that season.
Yeah, we did. Luton, Dave, both of those games are obviously well before your time. Clearly one of them massively before your time. Just before your time. But I guess...
And mine.
You were at the 1905 game, weren't you? I'm pretty sure you covered that, didn't you? But yeah, no, there's a great fact. But I think looking ahead particularly to the actual fixtures itself, I think what we're trying to do this season is pull out some famous matches and to maybe look back at some key fixtures between our opposition fans and get our fans' memory badges. So, Luton, Dave, I might be putting you on the spot a little bit here, but the Statman Dave, what game have you chosen to tell our listeners about?
Well, yeah, we can go all out here and pick a particular game that suits us, and we have done on this one. We're going back nearly 19 years to Saturday, the 5th of November 2005, Bonfire Night. And yeah, very entertaining game we had at Kenilworth Road, where Burnley were victorious despite some challenges, let's say, within the game.
Do you remember that game, Luton, Dave, at all? If I give you some clues, will this jog your memory?
Give me some. I was there for definite in that year.
Yeah,
because I was young enough to go. We
ended up with a now legend outfield player in nets.
Really?
Yes.
Right, blooming heck. it totally, but I don't. What? Just remind me of the score.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So we're gonna go back over it in a second.
Oh, you're
But
going to
it's
go back at it.
yeah, Saturday, 5th of November, 2005, Luton Town 2, Burnley 3. Burnley's goalkeeper, Brian Jensen, was sent off. Brian Jensen, the Beast, which we used to call him. And we didn't... Startman Dave, did we not have a keeper on? Why did we end up with John Spicer in the goal?
We didn't have a keeper on the bench, did we? No.
These are the pre-Premier League Daves, Luton Dave, where we didn't have a squad. And we ended up with John Spicer in the goal. Adi Akinbayi, one of the old legends of the AFL, scored a hat-trick, I believe, Dave.
Yeah.
Not ringing any bells with you? You're only a little.
Well, I'm just going to say I was gutted. Totally gutted. Now you mentioned his name. Yeah, gutted. I don't remember it being feisty. I don't even know why the goalkeeper got sent off. But I would have been totally gutted. You get an outfield player coming in goal, you just got to pepper the goal, haven't you? And clearly, we didn't do enough of that. But 2005, obviously, it's a long time ago now, so I can just put that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, you can. It's definitely a game that resonates more with Burnley fans than I think Luton fans. I think if you gave me a random Luton game, which we'll talk about when we do the opposition and when we come to Turf more later on in the season, I think if it was a Luton victory, I'd be like, yeah, I've got rid of that one. But yeah, it's definitely John Spicer has become legendary for ending up in the nets for Luton. Well, we asked our panelists, regular panelists, to let us know what they thought, what their memories of the famous John Spicer Beast debacle in nets, and here's what they had to say.
Afternoon, it's Tom here to talk about today's memory match. A game that's really gone down in Burnley folklore. 3-2 win at Luton. Adi Akinbayi hat-trick, of course, down to 10 men, Brian Jensen sent off. John Spicer in goal for a good hour, and yet we somehow clung on to win 3-2. I have to admit, I've been to the last couple of games at Luton. We've had a couple of great away wins there in the last 2 seasons. But the 2005 game I didn't attend. My memories of the game are watching the scores coming on CFAX and being incredibly tense after that John Spicer red card, and it was a great feeling when we'd held that to win, but perhaps not quite as visceral a memory as some of you will have of that game. Incredibly jealous of anyone who went though. I think if you could pick me 3 games that I'd love to go back in time and see, that'd be quite high up on my list.
Startman Dave, did you like that game, Startman Dave? Is that why you picked it?
I wasn't. No, I didn't go down for that one. I was going to quite a few away games around that time, but I think I had family over with it being. We always used to go to the fireworks in Clitheroe, and I was actually in Clitheroe and not wanting to go around the shops, so I went to watch Clitheroe's match, and I had a radio with me at the time, and was trying to get the updates and the score, and just wondering what was going on. It was quite entertaining.
Yeah, definitely so. So Luton Dave, taking our turn now, looking ahead to, I keep saying Saturday's game. We did this on your podcast the other day.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
it's exactly the same.
Difficult to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, Monday's game. In terms, obviously, neither of us have really had much in terms of an overview of the squad. I suspect before the transfer window goes, Burnley's squad will look very different to the one it has now. But yours is probably more settled than ours, isn't it? You've already alluded to the fact that it's unlikely that anything will change at all in terms of, you don't have to sell. You probably won't bring anybody in. Who have we got to look out for at the game? Who's our biggest? Who's your biggest threat to us?
Well, I think you know that from last season. To be fair, the squad hasn't changed much. There may be 1 or 2 more coming in. Whether they're coming in time for the game, our back 4 is been decimated. But we've got Ted and Mengi in the back. Hopefully, he's got over his little niggle he had against Celta Vigo, and he proved quite a good stalwart at the back. So for him. Looking, but you've got to look at the front 2. You've got to look at Elijah Adebayo, and obviously the legend Carlton Morris as well. Carlton has absolutely stepped up. Really, really looking strong pre-season. He's taken over the role of captain from Pollard at the moment, and he's a right good leader. So obviously you've got to look out for him. New signing Shannon Baptiste from Brentford. He's showing some class in the pitch, taking over that sort of Ross Barkley role. So I'd be looking at least at Carlton and Eli, and don't forget Alfie Doherty had a fantastic season last season. So for me, those are the main ones to look for. But then I can look at Chio Benny. He's quick. He's an international. He's fast. He can go down those lines. And I just think they'll be a little bit less cagey than we were last season because of where we are. And probably the pressure is on them to perform well in the first game. Everybody wants to come out of it with a win, don't they? But so I wouldn't look further forward than the front two. If they're on form, I think they will score. Whether we can defend enough is another matter. And I think that Mengi is our biggest defender at the moment. Our others are injured, so that could be our downfall. So I look at that. That's the Mengi, Baptiste, Eli, and Carlton Morris. And if Alfie Dowie is on form, then we'll get some good crosses in, and might give you some trouble there. But that's about all I can say really, because who knows what the starting lineup's going to be. But you're hoping that those players that are on form from the pre-season, the pre-season's gone okay. It's just getting you up to speed, isn't it? But I'm up for Carlton Morris. I think Carlton Morris is going to be a big player this season.
One of the things. Sorry, one of the things that we talked about on your show early on in the week, which I'm sure our listeners would be interested to hear because it's somebody we looked at. You were really disappointed to lose Barkley at the end of the season, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's one of the best players that have played in a Luton shirt, and I've been watching Luton for a long time. And if everybody had said to me, "Who's the best player to put a Luton shirt on?" my first call would be Ricky Hill, and it would always be Ricky Hill because Ricky Hill was brilliant. In the 80s and the 70s, he was fantastic. But Barkley was a class act above the rest of our team in the way that he was just brilliant. We've resurrected his career, really, haven't we? He was just brilliant. Yeah. He was a playmaker. He used the ball well. He won the ball. He was just a cut above. We're disappointed to lose him, but you don't blame him for going. You don't blame him for going.
Not.
So and listen, Villa paid us a fee for him, I think 5 million odd. So that means we had the services of a really high quality player for a whole season for free because it paid his wages and we got some money. We wanted him to stay. If he'd have stayed, I'd have been saying to you, we're gonna really challenge for this season.
For sure.
But, I don't blame him going to Aston Villa for a bit of European football if he gets in the team. He was a really, really big cog in our team. When he goes to Villa, he might find that a little bit different. Very disappointed to lose him, but probably one of the best players I've seen play for Luton Town. And that's going somewhere. I've been going since 1969-70. Thanks so much. And he's probably one of the best players I've ever seen in a Luton shirt. And it's disappointing to miss him, but then we've got to move on.
Yeah, you do. That's the thing. I think the time of, particularly for most of us now, of having players for a really long time and falling in love with those players and keeping them is probably gone. I think we're going to start to see more and more of a higher turnover of players in all the clubs and all the leagues going forward as football changes and pressures on squads and finances change. We're already being warned that there'll be a high turnover of staff. We've got a new manager anyway, but a high turnover of the playing staff. That's inevitable, I think, when you've got a club like Burnley who are trying to manage a squad that can compete in the Premier League, but then also be realistic in the Championship as well. It's very, very difficult. Statman Dave, give us some stats about this fixture then, please.
Yeah, we've got a couple more modern ones to go at here. Positive ones as well. Certainly the first one. Burnley have won 7 and lost just 2 of the last 9 away trips to Kenilworth Road. Stan Ternant was Burnley's manager for both defeats. They were in 1998 and 1999, with Lenny Lawrence in the opposition dugout. Tom Lockyer captained the Hatters on Burnley's 2 previous visits, although he was dismissed after picking up 2 yellow cards in the space of 60 seconds the last time we met in the Championship at Kenilworth Road. Of course, we wish him all the best as he continues his recovery from his cardiac issues that he's suffered.
Definitely. Quick results overview then, please. What's the actual maths of this?
Yeah, well, we hinted Burnley have won 7 of the last 9, but overall we've played Luton away 27 times. We have 12 wins, which is a pretty impressive record away from home, 5 draws and 10 defeats, so more wins than defeats. But in terms of goals scored, it's 39 for Burnley and 42 for Luton, so they're just slightly ahead on goal difference.
Good stuff.
3 points to us, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm going to have a quick pause there, just to recognise as we get to the halfway point in this week's preview show. For those of you who don't yet follow Statman Dave's home page, he does have a fantastic website which talks all the way through, basically has all these Burnley stats where you can find them. We are in the process of putting a trailer together for you, so those of you watching this on YouTube will be able to see the graphics. But in the meantime, and because I haven't yet created that, Dave, how do our listeners access your site, please?
Well, there's a short link for it if people, well, you can look at my Twitter profile. So that's DLRBRTS. Those that are watching can see that in the corner. But the website is a short link. So it's bit.ly, and that's / Burnley Stats QL. That's all in uppercase. And there's like a initial menu on there. There's about, I think, 15 or 16 of the most common reports, but there's all sorts on there. There's all past games, there's goal details, goal descriptions, internationals, just basically anything you can think about in terms of Burnley. So I've kind of had it all on spreadsheets. It was a bit sort of boring on spreadsheets. Want to try and visualize that data a little bit more so you can go online and see all of that information. Go in there and dig in and see what you can find.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, Dave. And by the time we get to our next preview show, which is looking ahead for the Cardiff game next week, I'll have a nice little graphic for you. You never know. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I may have edited that by the time we get in here. Who knows? Well, it's time to turn our attention to this week's referee, and we are going to hand over to our little whippersnapper, George Poole, who always brings some fun and games to this, and he's going to let us know who the referee is for this week.
Matt Donoghue of Sale in Greater Manchester has been appointed to take charge of Luton Town versus Burnley on Monday evening. Now, he has refereed 2 previous matches involving Burnley, and both were in 2020-23. And both actually were at Turf Moor, and both ended in Burnley wins, would you believe it or not. Now, we beat Huddersfield Town 4-0 in February of that year, and then we also beat Cardiff City 3-0 in May on the final day of the season to take our points total to 101. Now, we're of course already champions at this point, because the Burnley went to Ewood and won the effing league. We'll be hoping to make it a hat-trick of wins in front of Matt Donoghue with victory in the opening match of the new championship season. But remember, there is no VAR, so that's no video assistant referees, because that will not take place during the championship season. Hallelujah. Up the Clarets.
Okay, Luton Dave, how are you feeling about Saturday? Give us a score prediction and how you think the game's going to go, please.
Well, it's Monday. For a start.
Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Literally.
All these blooming changes, isn't it?
Over the space of 2 podcasts, I've made that mistake like 16 times. It's ridiculous. I'm so sorry.
I can confidently predict we won't win on Saturday.
That's bold, Dave. It's not like you to make bold predictions. Sorry, Luton Dave. How are you feeling about the game on Monday? Give us a score prediction, please.
Well, I'm excited to be back into watching football that's not VAR'd, and the referees can make their own decisions in their own time. I think it's going to be a tight match. I don't think anyone's going to run away with it. If we get a good start, maybe we can push forward. So with my Luton Town hat on, I really want us to make a good show of it. It's on the telly, isn't it? So we probably won't do as much as I want them to. So I'm optimistic that we might win. I'm optimistic, but I want to say it's going to be really tight. But then on my own podcast the other night, I said we could win 3-0 just to pee off the other people that were talking to me. But realistically, I think we've got to say it's going to be another. We haven't had a big result since forever, have we? It's always been quite
close games.
Yeah. So I just feel it's going to be one of those games, and whoever gets the head in front first, I think will win. And I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1. To us, obviously. I'm not going to say to you.
Hey, listen, I've been on Manchester City previous shows going to the Etihad and still said Burnley are going to win. You have to back your boys. It's absolutely true. Scorers, who do you think is going to score?
I do think Colton will get them. Colton and Eli, one each, or both Colton or both Eli. They are so good at what they do. Eli really stepped up last season, the second half of last season. He looked like, I can't believe no one's bought him. I can't believe no Premier League team has come in for him. So I think they are proper strikers. They're different strikers. So either one can score. But I'm going to say Morris will get one and then Eli will get the other. There you go.
Excellent. Burnley Dave, Statman Dave, how are you feeling about the game? It's a slightly difficult one for us because they're the polar opposites of what Luton are feeling. We have no idea who's going to play, what formation we're going to play. We've got a new manager. We've got a squad. We don't know who's going to go, who's going to, probably not that many coming in, but who's going to go. I couldn't tell you who's going to play and what are your thoughts ahead of that?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? We've had a bit of a cloak and dagger pre-season, so most of the games have been behind closed doors. There's not a lot of information been released about what happened in the games. There's only the away game out in Spain that was for anyone. Well, obviously, not many Burnley fans went out for it, but it was actually streamed on the official website. That's all we've got to go on, really. And obviously, a new manager coming in. That's going to be a factor as well. I think it's difficult sometimes when you come down for the Premier League, particularly the difficult season we had. We didn't get that many wins. It's difficult to then try and turn that around from losing so many games to then getting a winning mentality. And I think, if anything, it might be a slower start to the season. It's not easy to hit the ground running and go on a run of 5 or 6 wins at the start. So I think it'll be a little bit cagey. I think it will be a close game. And I think it might be a 1-1 draw, and I wouldn't be too disappointed in that.
Who do you think is going to play up front for us, Dave? This is a really difficult one for us, obviously.
I think Lyle Foster will start, won't he? And whether he might play, I don't know, might play Koleosho sort of behind him, might just be more like 4-4-1-1, perhaps.
Is he fit again now?
He was playing, wasn't he, in Cadiz?
Oh, yeah, of course he was, yes. Just as whether or not he's fit for a full competitive game. That's a slightly interesting one. Okay, yeah, Foster. What about Wout? Wout might play.
He's got a squad number.
Good old Wout Weghorst. Okay. Well, listeners, you know the drill by now. We want your score predictions, please. You can contact us via the usual social media channels. Let us know how you think the game's going to go. Who do you want to see in the starting lineup, transfers permitting, and what is that score going to be? We end this week's preview show with a roundup of what is going on in the rest of the league, as well as a return of a popular feature. Dave, looking to the wider aspects of the EFL, what's happening across the league, what's been the big news from this week?
I think one interesting thing going into the opening weekend of the season, we kind of touched on this a little bit when we were talking about the actual game, is what they've done for the televised games. Basically, for the opening weekend of the season, for the Championship, all games are going to be televised, so that they're on Sky Sports or the Sky Sports Plus, the new channel they've got. And basically, all matches, to do that, they've moved all matches away from the traditional Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. So there's basically Friday matches, there's Saturday lunchtime, there's Saturday tea, there's Sunday, and then obviously into Monday as well. So I'm not sure what old Bob Lord would have thought of it, because it was obviously his doing that the 3 o'clock blackout came into place. But they've kind of circumvented that to some extent, the EFL and Sky Sports, to make sure that they get all of those 12 games televised. I think actually they're televising all the games in the in League One and League Two as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. So, Luton, Dave, this poses an interesting question for football fans, particularly the football fans who pay to go on the grounds live and enjoy their live football. It's been a bugbear for the EFL for a long time that the disparity between the money in the Premier League and the rest of the football pyramid is getting bigger and bigger, and it's not good enough. And the EFL have signed this new deal with the American, with the Americans, and there's TV rights now, and the Sky Sports Plus that's come in as well, meaning much more money for EFL clubs. But it's going to inevitably go the way that the Premier League went, in that more money and bigger TV rights means a loss of autonomy over when and how you watch your football. Do you have any particularly strong views about this? What's your feeling of the announcement?
I think it's a difficult one for, you're right, the people that go to games regularly will be in despair. Luton Town have got just three 3 p.m. kickoffs from now until December. It's ridiculous. We've got a 12:30 kickoff in Middlesbrough on a Saturday, so that's a real big journey for us. So, but if you want the money, if the EFL want the money, you've got to pay the price for it. When Sky first took over the Premier League, that happened. You can see that the blackout is only in the UK. Everywhere else in the world, they've been watching 3 o'clock kickoffs forever. And if you really wanted to, as a fan, you could find a way of seeing those. I'm not condoning doing it illegally, obviously, but you could find a way of doing it. There are times when you can't go to games and I'd like to watch one. I would pay for watching it. Why not? Well, I think it should be more in control of the club. The club should have more in control over when it's on, or if they do a 3 o'clock kickoff, it should be up to the club to say, well, here it is. You can come through us and you can see it. They've had that facility forever. They could have done that many years ago. They could have made that extra money. But just for argument's sake, Luton Town's capacity currently is 11,500. Not a lot. Last season, loads of people could see Luton Town. This season, if we didn't have this new deal, those new fans wouldn't be able to get into the stadium. There's a huge waiting list. So for them reasons, yeah, that's great. But for us travelling fans coming up to Burnley or to wherever you're going, and yeah, it could be a bit of a pain, can't it? The only thing I do agree with is they actually give these fixtures out well in advance. It's not like Sky who picks them 3 weeks in advance or 4 weeks in advance. These are done until December. So we all know what we're going to do. I think that's the only saving grace. But, I wanted a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. I was looking forward to it. And now we've got, Mondays, Fridays, Saturday 12:30s. It's almost like the mini Premier League when it comes to TV rights, but there's not a lot of money in it. There is money, but not enough to put yourself out that much. But the clubs don't care. The clubs want some more money in, don't they? And it's the only way that other clubs are going to compete well to get back up to the top of the tables, because the money isn't there, is it? They either go through financial fair play and they don't have the money to spend. This gives them more money, but it doesn't trickle down enough either for the rest of the pyramid.
No,
it really doesn't. And so again, the lion's share goes in the Championship, but it's the clubs below us that need more as well to keep going. We don't want to lose any more clubs. And who wants to go to a League Two game on a Friday night, at whatever time, or a Saturday 12:30, and you're traveling half the country to get there? Those are the people that will watch the TV more, because they won't go to. The people
it's hurt live attendance, isn't
it? Live. Well, I don't think the stalwart fan will still go. Everyone, Luton will sell out every week. I've got no doubt about that. But if I had a problem going, then I'd want to tune in. But I think they're just putting the fans out. But I don't think the clubs have any say, do they? Yeah, they're right, and they'll do what they want. And I just, God forbid, if it's going to America and it's American backed. God forbid when they say, well, we'll do a fixture in America. That's when I'll...
Championship playoff final.
Yeah. And
yeah,
can you imagine
that's where it's heading. The Championship playoff final will be in a big Super Bowl field style thing at some point. It's
as long as they pay for my flights, I'll go.
Just yours and mine too. You won't be in the playoffs, Dave. You're going to be in automatic. You'll be fine.
I hope not. I hope not. But it's a big thing, isn't it? When Sky first come in, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Everybody loved it. When Sky reinvented football, all the money comes in. Then it gets ring fenced by the top clubs, and then they, and they don't distribute it enough. And then the teams like Luton suffered because of that. I would hate to think that this new deal would do that to the clubs in the lower divisions. With the exception of Milton Keynes. Other than that, I'm all for everybody getting to see the game, because you can follow your club. I'm all for it. But I think for people like us that go every week, it can be difficult. but not as difficult if it was been announced 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, or you've booked your train tickets and you've booked your hotels or whatever you do to get to a game for a long distance. At least you've got time to plan for it. So I suppose that's a better option.
Excellent. Great insight, Luton Dave. Thank you. Statman Dave, let's finish us off then with the return of one of our favourite features, which has had a little bit of a break recently. We are bringing back the quiz. However, this time you are going to set me and Luton Dave off against each other. What quiz question have you kept for as a surprise? It's not even on my script. Do you know, listeners, in an act of absolute scandal, he's written on my script to be kept under wraps until the recording because Statman Dave assumed that I would cheat. I mean, it's a pretty fair assumption. However, I'm still outraged. Statman Dave, what question have you set for me and Luton Dave this week, please?
Well, I very nearly forgot it because it's not in the script, but I have now remembered what it is because when we were going through the previous section, I thought, oh, what was that quiz question? But it's come back to me now. It's a year I'm after, so whoever gets the nearest year will get 1 point, and if you get it spot on, you'll get 2 points. And what we're going to do is we're going to rack up the points across the season. Whoever from our team is on against the opposition, and we'll look at the scores as it goes. And I think we're trying to make the questions fair, so I think you've got an equal chance of knowing this.
Sorry, just to be clear, Dave. So it will basically be at the end of the season who won the home team or the away team. None never won, or our opposition's won. Okay,
exactly.
fine.
Yes,
I love it. Excellent.
And this particular one, it is a year. So as I say, if you get the year spot on, it'll be 2 points and 1 point if you are the nearest, but not spot on.
May I offer some umpires' feedback here before we get this quiz going? I'm not sure just 1 extra point for getting a year spot on is pretty fair. I think 3 points for spot on.
I make the rules. It's my section.
Yeah. Okay. See, listeners, season 12, I've still got zero control over Statman Dave. Okay, hit us. Let's go.
We mentioned earlier that Burnley had won 7 and lost 2 of our last 9 visits to Kenilworth Road, but I want to know the year there was last a draw between the two teams. Luton v Burnley at Kenilworth Road. So I'm after a particular year.
Wow.
Okay, as our guest, Luton Dave, I feel like we should let you go first.
I think that's a bit unfair. I think that's a bit unfair.
You want me to go first? Okay.
I could go first if you want me to.
It's up to you. If you'd rather me go first, I will. As our guest, I'm going to give you the option of whether you want to go first or second. That's better.
Right, because I think I might be way off the mark. So
I know I've got an answer, but I think I might be way off the mark. I'm going to go 1983.
Right. I honestly can't remember.
I can't either. I'm guessing.
But
no, it's been a while.
But I think it's longer than that.
Oh.
Looking on that screen, but he isn't blinking, is he? No. So I think I'm going to be wrong, but I'm going to say 1970.
Oh, so Nona Never Team 1983, Luton 1970. Dave, what is the answer?
Right. Well, you were in the right decade, Natalie.
Yes.
Which means that you were the closest. The correct answer was 1988.
Oh, do you know when I was thinking my first guess, I thought, should I go a bit later? But I would have only said 1987, so I wouldn't have gone that far. Gosh,
good season 1988, by the way, for us.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a League Cup tie. It was the first leg of the second round of the League Cup.
Damn, I thought you were talking about league games.
Oh, what a get out! What a get out it is. Why was that such a good season for you, Luton, Dave? Elaborate.
Well, we have 1980 won the League Cup win against Arsenal at Wembley. It was brilliant, and it was just one of those days. We went to Wembley 4 times that season. We lost in the Simod Cup to Reading. There was a tournament of some other description that was on. We lost the FA Cup semi-final to Wimbledon, and we got to the Cup final. And then we went to the Cup final. We went to the League Cup final. So we lost the FA Cup semi-final to Wimbledon at Tottenham, and we won the final, obviously at Arsenal 3-1. 3-2, sorry, not 3-1, 3-2. So, and I was quite young, and it was great. And I was
excellent.
it was just a brilliant season. So I don't remember the draw, obviously, because I thought it was 1970. But you weren't specific about the times of the days.
Yeah, see, there you go. Episode 1 of season 12, and Statman Dave's getting rightly criticised. I like this. Let's keep him in check. Listen, Dave. By the time you come back for our return fixture at Turf Moor, we'll have got him in check. Well, listeners, that is all we have time for. We're going to wrap up the first of the preview show for this season 12, looking ahead to the 2024-2025 championship season with another championship title incoming for Burnley Football Club. My thanks go to our special guest, When the Town podcasts, Dave. It's been an absolute pleasure, Dave. I do enjoy working with you, and your insight has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. We hopefully will get you back on the show when we play at Turf Moor. That would be fantastic. Statman Dave, again to you, thank you so much for your hard work in putting this show together. Listeners, don't forget to please check out Dave's website, and while you're at there, please click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, whether that be on podcast or YouTube or any of our social media feeds. Do not miss an episode of Burnley's favourite podcast. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the preview show brought to you by the No Nay Never podcast. Until next time. The No Nay Never podcast is brought to you in association with the talkSPORT Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonaynever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSPORT. We are proud to be associated with the TalkSPORT Fan Network.